One February afternoon in 1968, young Kelvin Mock was picking his way over the piles of paper, broken chairs, and discarded tires on top of the dump in the Kenilworth Landfill. Three of Kelvin's older friends, wiser and quicker than the 7-year-old, scampered ahead of him, stopping now and then to examine a discarded piece of metal or glass or a scrap of cloth. Suddenly, the wind shifted. Flames raced across a river of computer paper and carbon, and burning debris swirled in all directions. Kelvin, cut off from his playmates, died in a pyre of trash. My name is Dennis Chestnut. I'm a native Washingtonian. I live in far northeast, Ward 7, here in Washington, D.C. Prior to 1977, D.C. was a federal city, 100% under the control of the federal government. So that meant everything. The area that is now Kenilworth Park, when that area was designated by the federal government to be a landfill to receive all of the city's municipal waste, and that was done in 1940s. There were probably areas in the city at that time in the 40s that had the same land or space capacity as Kenilworth, the Kenilworth area. But two things. One, it was the way the river was viewed. The river was viewed kind of like a place where things were dumped. That goes all the way back to the Navy Yard, established right on the banks of the Anacostia River, and was one of the major polluters. I mean, it was arms manufacturing location, and eventually shipbuilding and weapons manufacturing, and all of that waste wound up into the river. But this area of far northeast, being on the east side of the river, it was kind of like the suburbs of Washington, D.C. at that time. One of the things that took place in the Kenilworth landfill was open burning. So, the trash would be pushed into piles, and then on certain days they would have burn days, and they would set those piles of debris, trash and debris, on fire, and that was how they got rid of it. In 1968. A young child named Kelvin Mock was in the landfill playing, and while one of the burns got started, and was not able to get out, and was caught up in those fires and died in the burning in the Kenilworth dump. As a result, not only the burning was stopped as a result of that, but also the landfill it wound up eventually, within a matter of a year or so, closing the landfill as a landfill.
Around about that time, we were becoming more fragmented. Individuals were moving out, and that we started losing some of the symmetry that we used to have. My name is Rufus G. Mayfield. I used to live in Parkside, public housing on the northeast side. When my parents were able to wind up in better job, we moved out. I live now in Ward 6. The dump was always on the full back. And so therefore it was a way that if you look at Mayfair, you go around, the dump would go around, go back there, and the smoke was just billowing straight up. Here's Neville Thomas School. Here's Neville Thomas. Here's where the dump was, and it would just be bellowing up. It was only a select few that went down to that dump, and that it was a blessing for those individuals. They knew when the trucks would come in, the grocery stores, and they would be lined up. You would get some good stuff if you got there at the right time.
My name is Jerry Green. I'm a native Washingtonian, several generations past. I grew up in Mayfair Mansions in Northeast Washington, D.C. I currently live in Southeast Washington, D.C. My aunt would come and pick my younger sister and I up every weekend, and then she would stop off at the Kenilworth dump, and she would, see if she could find something there. And she had a house full of boys, so she would go and try to find little things for us before she picked us up to take us to her home. And so one time she got a easy bake oven. I never thought in my life I would ever have an easy bake oven, but there it was, right there at the Kenilworth dump, looking just about as brand new as you could get. She brought that, and then there were doll babies. There were all kind of things there that could bring a smile to a child's face.
When the stuff would come through, we would start bonfire. And then one dude ran through it and challenged me from doing it. I ran through it, they came again with another bet, and he ran through, and then I ran through. But the dude that was standing by the tripped and made me fall in the fire. And my leg was there burning, and I was totally shocked until they pulled me out of that fire.
All those black people over there in Northeast East, they call it far Northeast for a reason, were in the middle of what I would call an environmental Bermuda Triangle, where we had the highway system that we had to cross. There was no bridge going over to the other side, to the world where those things existed. We had to cross a railroad track. We had the dump there spewing out toxic fumes. We had a Pepco plant. And it was just frankly, a dangerous place for all of us.
In the early 1970s, following the closing, they covered up, the landfill area with soil. That was the original cap, and designated it as a recreation base. That old cap that was put on was a 1970s era cap. It was still leaching into the river, and even other probably toxic gases were still being emitted. We are located in Kenilworth Park South. This is the southern end, which is the location of the former Kenilworth Landfill. And this area is the main area where the bulk of the burning used to take place when they had the open burning. Had Kelvin Mock not died in this landfill, burning probably would have continued for who knows how long, and it would have maybe continued to be a landfill for who knows how long, and would have continued to leach toxins and pollutants into the river and be the kind of place that no one should have to live next to or have in their community. So I would really like to see Kelvin Mock memorialize, some commemoration raised to recognize the sacrifice that young life made in everything that's moving forward right now.